From Joshua Figueroa, what are your thoughts on the new storyline between Brie and Lana? I think it's a huge step down from where Brie should be right now, but it's exactly what I said was going to happen if they didn't capitalize on Brie's momentum. Now, she has no momentum, and it is just a random feud that doesn't really mean anything. That's probably just going to be blown off in a tag team match. From Mihei Todorut, do you think Nikki will return to the WWE if Brie leaves? Definitely. Unlike certain other quitters who give up because they can't handle the hard work or because people backstage are hurting their feelings, Nikki actually has a strong passion for wrestling. That she's going to continue to do it regardless of all of that. How she was working injured through the entire year, yet she continued to push herself and even begged to work more. So regardless of the risks and regardless of Brie leaving, Nikki is going to do everything that she can to continue her legendary career and become the greatest wrestler in the history of the universe. From Joshi77777777, would you consider Charlotte to be one of the better Divas champions? I think her reign is starting to improve just a little bit now that she's a heel, but the fact is, the only reason it got to this point is because she flopped. She was supposed to be the next top face of the division. That was the whole reason why she was the one that ended Nikki's title reign. They even went as far as to bring in her dead brother into a storyline to try to get her over. They had to completely change everything that they were planning for Charlotte in order to make it work. From Cameron Thorne, at this point, how do you believe Summer Rae should be booked? I think since Sasha is going to win the title at WrestleMania, the smart thing to do would be to build Summer Rae up to be a challenger for the title against Sasha in the future. With these random wins that Summer Rae is getting on Raw, I think they could probably build her up the same way that they did with Mr. Kennedy, by doing an angle where she defeats nothing but Divas champions until she's defeated every former Divas champion on the roster. That would be an easy way to set Summer Rae up for a title shot and get her into a feud with Sasha Banks, because kayfabe-wise, Summer Rae is the one that made Sasha Banks what she is today. So this feud makes way too much sense not to do at some point. From Nick RH, why do you think WWE have a hard time finding something for Natalya to do? It goes back to the point of the more power that Triple H gets, the less relevant anyone who didn't come from NXT will become. Because you can already tell right now, they have no idea what to do with any of the other divas. They couldn't even fit Brie into a meaningful storyline, despite all the story potential being thrown at them. So obviously, they're not going to be able to create any kind of meaningful storyline for Natalya unless it involves any of the NXT divas. That was the whole reason why she got her mini push last year, was because they were setting her up for a feud with Sasha Banks. That's really the only way that any diva is going to get an opportunity now, is whenever WWE decides that they want to squeeze them in with their NXT plans. From WWE Creative, do you think people are going to turn on Sasha Banks when she wins the title? The people supporting her now will continue to support her, regardless whether she even does anything good for the rest of her career. She could wrestle like Eva Marie from 2013 for the rest of her career, and people will always justify it and continue to blame everyone and everything else for all of her flaws. But that just happens with everyone that the IWC loves. Once the IWC decides that they're great, they no longer need to do anything great ever again. So once Sasha wins the belt, if the division still hasn't improved, they'll blame WWE. But if the division suddenly becomes great while Sasha is champion, they'll give her all the credit. From Cody Rocket, who do you see being the top diva of NXT by the end of the year? I think right now, everything involving the NXT Divas division is up in the air. There's going to be a pretty big void once Bayley leaves, and it doesn't seem like they've really built anyone up well enough to completely fill that void just yet. But the way things are looking right now, I think Asuka is going to be the one that they use to fill the void temporarily once Bayley leaves. Now, who comes after Asuka? It could be Eva Marie for all we know. it does seem like they do want to push her to the moon at some point and have her be a top diva. I could even see Emma eventually turning face again and having a run as a top diva that she never had before. Now, I think Dana Brooke is definitely going to be someone that will be a top heel of the division by the end of the year, but I'd say that they're more than likely going to continue to bring in more big names from the indies to help fill those top spots, since it seems like they really don't trust any of the newer girls just yet, since most of them are still green. From Typical Simmer, what are your thoughts on Santana Garrett joining WWE? I don't like how they're completely ignoring her indie background. She just came off of one of the most successful runs that anyone has had in the indies. I would have thought that they'd have built her up more as a rising star from the indies, but they're just bringing her in as if she's some random nobody who they picked up off the street. But then again, maybe that's just because they don't know whether she's going to be there long term or not. But I don't see why she wouldn't. She's exactly what NXT needs right now. She has the skills and the experience that can help build up some of the newer divas, plus she has a little bit of star power in her own right to be a credible top diva of the division. Those are the two things that NXT really needs right now, and Santana Garrett has them both. From Kyle Guerreri, when do you think Bayley will be ready for the main roster? She already is. It's just a matter of waiting for the right time for her to come up. Bayley is pretty much carrying the NXT Divas division right now, because she's honestly the only real star that division has right now. So I think NXT needs Bayley right now to help create some other stars before she goes to the main roster. From Jason Dew, can you see Bayley as a heel, and if so, who would she go against? I think that'd be a really difficult thing to pull off, but it could happen. What they would first have to do is they'd have to build up Bayley to a breaking point, have her go through a downward spiral, and eventually that breaks her and she snaps. They could have her bring in Izzy to the middle of the ring, and then she can cut a heel promo against Izzy, saying how she's sick of these annoying brats and that they're holding her back, and she's sick of all the pervs in the crowd that chant sexual songs with her name in it. And then she can top it off by slapping Izzy across the face and mocking her while she cries for real. That would be awesome, which would then set up just about any diva to come in and take her spot as the new fan favorite hero, and it would get them over huge, unless it's Charlotte. From Mark Lockett, what are your thoughts on Kharma being forced from TNA, and how would you book a WWE return? I get the feeling that Kharma wanted to leave TNA. I don't know if she was trying to get fired, but I can almost guarantee she got what she wanted. And I definitely think that she wants to make a WWE comeback. I'm just not sure whether WWE wants her to make a WWE comeback. I think there's a good reason why she went back to TNA instead of WWE. They obviously didn't want her to come back for whatever reason. I think that might be different now, especially considering that Triple H is doing his damnness to rob as many big names from the indies as he can. So maybe we will see Kharma come back. I think the best scenario for a Kharma return would be to wait until Brie's getting ready to leave and then use Kharma to write her off, and then Nikki can come back and squash Kharma at WrestleMania. That would be epic. From WWE Fan, what do you think about Taryn Terrell and Awesome Kong's departures from TNA? I talked about Awesome Kong, but Taryn Terrell is the real surprise. TNA really invested a lot into making her a star, and I figured that the fact that she came back after having a baby meant that she was going to be in it for the long run. So it's weird that she just left in the middle of her peak. And now when you look at the division and what it's become without her, you can see just how big of a centerpiece she really was to keeping that division together last year. Because there's a huge void right now that's hurting the division overall. And I don't know if anyone's going to be able to fill it, especially at this point with TNA's incompetent booking. From Joe Quinn Farinas, what do you think about TNA signing Chelsea and Gabi? It looks like this is already the most successful season in Tough Enough history, but I think they're pretty high on Gabi, so I expect her to get a pretty solid push. As far as Megan Miller goes, I think she's going to be the replacement of Claire Lynch in TNA. From Shamar Court, what are your thoughts on the Beautiful People and Dollhouse feud? This is a feud that I've been looking forward to ever since the Dollhouse formed, but it's really been butchered by Taryn Terrell leaving and Angelina getting knocked up. This whole feud has just been the Dollhouse versus Velvet Sky, Madison Rayne, and whatever random partner they can come up with. It hasn't actually felt like the Beautiful People versus the Dollhouse, but I guess this is the one time that we can't blame TNA for that. It was just really unfortunate timing. From Game 2, what are your thoughts on Maria's TNA run so far? I haven't watched much of it because no one uploads TNA clips anymore and their YouTube videos are like 30 seconds long, but I know she's trying to get rid of Gail Kim, and that's something that I can definitely get behind. From Thunderbrand077, do you think TNA should scrap the knockout division since Gail Kim is the only one they care about and is probably going to be champion forever? Yeah, at this point, it's kind of created that effect where nothing the knockout division does really matters anymore. Every time they have something good going on for them, they add Gail Kim to kill it. They did it with Brooke in 2012. They did it with Velvet in 2013. They did it with Mickie James' heel run. They did it with the Beautiful People in 2014. They did it with Taryn Terrell in 2015. And they're doing it with the Dollhouse now. So it's at the point where the damage has been done, and there's probably nothing the division can do to recover anymore. But that's not just the knockout division. That's TNA in general. They've dug themselves in a hole that's too deep for them to ever be able to get out of.